John 12:24. Amen, amen, dico vobis, nisi granum frumenti cadens in terra mortum fuerit, ... Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a kernel or a nublet of grain, which has fallen in the ground, dies. So this verse breaks into two basic sections. We have with the blue, amen, amen, dico vobis, our relatively stock phrase that's used throughout John and the other Gospels to really emphasize a given point. And then here in the yellow, we have the protasis of a conditional clause. This is one of those verses where the protasis is split away from the apodosis by a verse division. But for the sake of treating the grammar holistically, today we're going to bring in the beginning of the next verse so we can have the apodosis dealt with in this verse as well. But before I get to discussing the apodosis and the construction as a whole, let's deal with the grammar of the protasis. First we have nisi, which introduces the condition, unless, and then the condition itself, which consists of a granum frumenti, dying. And then we have this prepositional phrase. And then we have this prepositional phrase giving more information about the granulate, which has fallen to the ground. Although we have a present tense participle here, I say has fallen because of the underlying Greek, and the underlying Greek's participle has a perfective aspect to it. But what in fact is a granum frumenti? It may be a little bit confusing given the semantic overlap of these two words, but this may help you. Granum is more referring to like a granule of some kind, and frumenti referring to the fruit of grain, although both can mean a seed or a kernel of some kind. So the semantic overlap may cause a little bit of confusion, but it is perhaps best to think of it as a granulate of grain, or a pebble of grain, or a kernel of grain. If it helps clarify the distinction, we also have this phrase, granum marmoreum, a marble granulate. And furthermore, if you have the blessing of Greek, this is the underlying Greek text that may help you. Now, if you learned classical Latin before coming to the Vulgate, the thing that'll definitely trip you up the most is the sequence of tenses in conditional clauses and in subordinate clauses, because the natural way of expression in the Vulgate is a little bit different than the natural expression of the first century. And there might be different reasons for why they express themselves differently here, possibly because that's just how they spoke in Jerome's time, or possibly to mirror the underlying Greek. And in this case here, I think we have an oddity of the sequence of tenses to mirror the underlying Greek, which has a aorist subjunctive in the protasis and a present tense in the apodosis. Now, the form of the verb in our protasis could also be interpreted as a future perfect. Either could be correct, though I think it's a perfect subjunctive for the purpose of mirroring the underlying Greek. But regardless, the meaning is clear. Unless the granulate of grain having fallen to the ground dies, it will remain by itself, or remain one.